All right, welcome to Mad-Zen again, and it is story time. I've been requested by friends. They're like, if you're going to tell stories, there's certain ones that we definitely think you should share. And this one was the top pick amongst my personal friends. It is what they lovingly refer to as the wolf story. So, in case you don't know, I'm actually from Alaska, and this was many, many moons ago because, well, I'm old. And I was living in Alaska and I was working for Alaska Airlines. And at the time, we had gone like 3 weeks in a row where it was 20, 30 below zero every day for like a few weeks. It was a solid, nonstop, just cold, 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 horrible winter. And I'm sitting here working for Alaska Airlines and I was just like, I'm just done. I'm fed up. Where do we have a job opening someplace warm? So I look around, check everything out, and we've got a spot in Phoenix, Arizona. So that same day, it was about 40 below in Anchorage, and it was about 75 degrees in Phoenix. Now, mind you, this is February, so, that's not that crazy. But I was like, sweet, I'm absolutely, pack up my bags, send me away, sweet baby Jesus, take me now. I'm ready for some warmth. And they're like, okay, you can transfer down. You've just got 2 weeks to get down there and get started. So I put everything I own into my car and I decided to drive down. Now, mind you, this is early 90s, so I didn't have a cell phone or everything. It's February in the winter, and I'm putting everything I own into a two-wheel drive hatchback car with old tires. I don't even have all-weather tires. It's there's like no cell phone with me. I've got everything I own in the car. This was not a wise decision. I've got several spare gas cans to be able to make it from one gas station to the next because I do know that in the wintertime, normal traffic isn't going around. It's normally just going to be big rigs, so a lot of the gas stations will be closed. So I have to have enough spare cans to prepare like I'm a big rig to make it from one spot to another. I start driving, and I drive for about 14 hours without seeing a single car in either direction. I'm completely on my own out here, and it is, again, 40-ish below zero. There's high winds and ice fog, and of course it's February, so it's dark. I'm just a little bit into the Canadian border at this point, 14 hours into the drive, and it is pitch black. All you can see is the white from your headlights off of the snow on the ground and reflecting in the white ice fog around. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, ice fog is basically like take regular fog and then fill it with ice crystals that are kind of like sandpaper grit. Combine that with high winds, and you're shaving the road down to a fine glass-like smooth surface, and it's extremely unpleasant in every sense of the word. So I can only drive so fast, maybe like 10 to 15 miles an hour without losing traction, and the car just starts sliding around on the road instead of having control. So I have to drive very slowly. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I've got no radio stations. I've got one crappy CD that I'm already disturbingly sick of listening to. So I'm just listening to the sound of my tires on the ground and the sound of the high winds and just white on white headlights on snow and ice fog. And I'm driving very, very slowly. So obviously I'm tired. I'm, annoyed by all of this. And I'm in a section of Canada called Destruction Bay, as if that wasn't already a clue that things are going to go badly. But I'm driving over what can loosely be called a bridge. It's one of those large lumps of land that go over a large metal pipe that you can put, a couple of big rigs or whatever through, but it's just so Arctic River can flow through it and you drive over this thing. There's no real guardrails of any kind. It's just an icy road going over a lump hill sort of thing. I'm going over it around 10 o'clock at night, and the wind is blowing and I can barely see anything. And I'm going very slowly, but I see this shape in the middle of the road, and I just barely turn the steering wheel. I don't want to overdo it or anything like that, but I want to try and avoid hitting whatever this shape is that's in the road. And the rear axle just barely taps it. And that's all it took. All of a sudden, I'm spinning around, and now I'm backwards, going over the side of this embankment, ass end first. So I'm going down at a sharp angle, and I'm just like, oh God, this is how it ends. The rear axle breaks a small tree, and the front axle catches that stump. And that's the only thing that kept me from going into this Arctic river and being dead pretty much on contact. So I'm stuck on this deep sloped embankment. There's no way I'm getting my car out of here on my own. I'm lucky is a weird word to use for it, in the fact that I couldn't really turn on my heater during this drive because the temperature difference cracked my windshield at one point. So I just turned off the heater entirely, and I just had on all of my winter gear. So I've got multiple layers of long johns. I've got my Sorel super subarctic parka gear on because I was fueling airplanes outside for Alaska Airlines at the time. So I was used to working outside in extremely cold weather, and I was wearing all of this gear. That's probably what saved my ass, because I get out of the car and I crawl my way up to the road. And even with the high beams on, with the wind and the ice fog and everything like that, you can't even tell I'm down there. And I haven't seen a single car for hours, mind you, so nobody's going to help me out. Now, I haven't even dipped into a spare gas can at all, so I know I'm not that far from a gas station. So I have to walk back the direction that I came from, because that's obviously the safer route to go. I'm walking, and mind you, again, it's far below zero, high winds. I mean, it's just wicked evil cold, and I'm just trying to make it there. I walk from roughly 10 o'clock at night till almost 9 in the morning, and I can barely feel most of my body. I get in there and I collapse. I'm just like, need a tow truck. I tell them everything they need to know to go find it, and it is February on a Sunday in Canada trying to get a tow truck. So they hook the first truck up to my car and try and pull it up. And because of how slick glass the road is, the tow truck starts to slide a little bit. So they're like, nope. They call in their other tow truck to anchor it down. They get my car up and they're bringing it back to me. And that's $600 worth of tow truck later. They're showing up and they're like, hey, we found what you hit. I was like, oh, okay. What? Let me see. So they drop this almost 200-pound Canadian Timberwolf carcass into the gas station that I'm at. And they're like, yeah, there was a blood trail. We followed it. It followed you for 6 miles before it bled out and just collapsed. Apparently, the rear bumper of my car hit him in the back hip and tore his hip open. And that's the only reason why he couldn't move fast and why he bled out. But he followed me for 6 miles. This thing was larger than me with a grudge. And I'm pretty sure if it had caught me, it would have eaten me like a Sunday brunch. And I would have had no idea it was behind me because I'm just walking trying to stay warm. I'm not walking like I've got, death in a fur coat behind me. So I'm grateful that I managed to, outmaneuver this thing by accident. And they make me this insane offer. They're like, okay, if you let us keep this, we'll pay for the tow truck, we'll fix up your car, fill up your gas tank, whatever you need, we got you covered. You just let us keep this because, we're going to mount it taxidermy style and we'll sell it to like an airport or something. Which, this was roughly the time zone when people were trying to ban Alaska for hunting wolves because you couldn't do it without a helicopter, and they were, a big deal. They're very dangerous animals. So they could get a really good chunk of change to sell one of these things to like an airport or something like that. What am I going to do with it? Strap it to the hood of my broken down car, drive into Phoenix, Arizona on a dime, show up and be like, haha, Alaskan man is here. Behold my kill. And just like act like that's a normal thing. Screw all that. I was just like, absolutely. Sounds like a great trade. Let's go ahead and do this. They take care of everything like that. And I am finally on my way back onto the road. And this was basically day one of a very long, 3 or 4 day trip. And it didn't get all that much better from there. But luckily I survived everything. Clearly, I'm here to tell the tale. And now it's just one of those stories in my life that my friends love to make me tell at parties. So they asked that I share it here as well. All right. There will be many more stories to come. This was just a taste of the weird and bizarre life that has led me to the philosophy that I have now, which led to the website that you're on now. All right. So welcome to Mad-Zen.